All right, Jason, introduce us. Tell us your name, how old you are, where you're living, and what you do for a living.
Jason Little, 52 from Selinsgrove, originally from Pittsburgh, as you can see.
What do you do for work?
I'm in sales and finance,
What industry?
car industry. Yeah.
How long have you lived here in Nevada?
I've been here 23 years.
What were the circumstances? Where were you living, and how did you end up living here in Nevada?
I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, uh, and I came here to go to Bible college out on Snydertown Road, Youth Challenge. That's what brought me to the area.
What were your first impressions?
Culture shock.
Talk about the differences between where you were living and what your life was like there, and the culture shock that you experienced there locally.
Well, obviously, Pittsburgh is more of a city, and even the surrounding cities are still a little city, or mentality wise, they're city. But coming here was different because like I never been the only black at nothing in my life until I came to this area, and I was never raised with the ignorance of hating another race, any race for that matter. Um, Always had a problem with authority figures though, because I just felt like they things that I seen in Pittsburgh. I always had a problem with the police. We had our police in our area that were from the area. They knew everyone, and in the '70s, in the beginning of the '80s, that's the way it was with that patrolman. Then when the steel mills left, and now we're getting some folks that aren't necessarily from the area. You started seeing a difference in the policing because the mentality of the people were different. Because now drugs was like the main force of the money. Before that, guys come out of high school, their fathers or grandfathers got them in a steel mill, and guys were making good money, straight off the bat. But when the drugs came in the situation, it brought some other things, and there was some really negative police on the streets. I've seen them pick up one of my buddies, for instance, one time, and he was out on the street hustling, and he takes him a few blocks down the street, takes his money, takes his drug, takes his jewelry, and lets him go. So the police are actually robbing the drug dealers. What are they doing with the drugs? They're selling them too. So we see this all the time. So our look at the police sometimes is a vision that most of America can't see. So we have some underlying issues with the police, and this is why you see what you do in the public right now. I don't think it's going to get better if people keep dying, if people keep getting killed by police with no repercussions. I don't understand how that happens anywhere.
And we were talking about how you came from Pittsburgh to here locally. When you got here and you said it was the first time you were ever the only black person out of the group, did you feel like it affected your behavior?
Yes, yeah. That was my own internal thing, though. It wasn't that somebody made me feel that way. It was just being the only one. I'm sure that if you were put in that situation, it would feel maybe a little awkward until you got to talking to people and folks got to know you, and then things started to, become normal.
So were you able to get comfortable and let your guard down in that experience?
Yeah, I was, because nothing was ever said to me that was cross, or when I first came, I did have a situation when I was working with this guy, and he said something. Uh, I don't know if I want you to put this in there yet, but he said about rigging something. I was sandblasting, and he said that, and I turned the sandblasting machine off. And at the time, I was still street. You know, I haven't, I didn't switch over my mentality totally. I said, "What the you say?" And then he explained to me what the term meant. But I informed him that's not something you want to use around a black person. If that's understand that different areas have their lingo, but that you don't want to say in front of other people. So I took offense to that, But when he explained it to me, I understood what he was saying. I still didn't like the on the front, period. I used to say that word all the time. Now you can't call me that, nor do I refer to anyone in that manner.
What are some other like subtle examples of like racist behavior that you encountered in your time living here that really kind of stick out to the front of you?
Here's one in particular, and this is profound because it changed the way I saw the world. Right. So I'm walking across the street in Sunbury. That's when Puffs was next door to the Squeeze In. So I come from that church. I get to the middle of the street. Little old lady is in her car. I hear her locks go down in her car. I walk to the other end of to the other side. My foot hit the curb, and I'm saying, this lady don't even know me, and she's judging me, like I'm going to harm her. She doesn't know that I'm the kind of guy that'll take my shirt off and put it over a puddle for her, you know. So I go back in the middle of her car, hold up my hands. I say, lady, I don't want what you have. I start walking back across the street. As soon as my foot hit the curb, God said to me, you do the same thing to them. You just justify it. So this lady revealed my prejudice, and she never said a word to me. Not one word. But she forever changed the way that I carry myself. That's profound. That's the kind of power we have. She didn't know she was doing it. She was just going off of whatever happened in her life, whether somebody taught her not to like folks or whether something happened to her, whatever it may be. She changed my life and didn't say a word. That was profound.
How about an overt example of racist behavior directed toward you or someone you know?
I haven't, not here. I haven't really had that. I mean, I think I was profiled a couple times by the police just because of my car, but as far as somebody being racist to me or saying racist things, that didn't happen. That's not my experience here. So when we moved in, the lady next door brought a cake and the lady over there brought a pie. I said to my wife, where did we move to? Like, where does that happen? So I felt welcomed, and we were only the second black family on the whole street, and so that did something for me. I can't put all white folks in a box. I don't want them to put me in a box with folks who are doing negativity if that's not what I'm doing. So how is that fair? So I need to judge each one individually if that's the way I want to be judged.
Are you a father? Do you have children?
Yes,
Are you raising them here?
I did. They're all out.
They're all grown.
Kicked them all out.
So I was curious to learn, like, maybe things that your parents taught you, or things that you passed on to your kids to kind of like protect themselves in like white areas like that. Maybe we would never think of or know why you would need to do that or think that way. Because I'd heard of like basketball coaches teaching their teammates how to interact with police officers, or like fathers kind of doing the same thing with their sons and daughters. I'm wondering if you had that experience at all.
No, I didn't. I didn't have that experience. Where I was raised in Pittsburgh was a suburb, so there wasn't a lot of drama there. I mean, I think early, like in '80 or like in '78, something like that, there might have been a couple racial fights or something like that. But for the most part, we're not taught hate in our households. We are taught to respect our elders, period, regardless of what they look like. So that anger or hate was not taught from our parents. I was never told about how to deal with the police. I I learned it from being on the street and watching what happened and hearing other people's situations and stories. Uh, I didn't have that conversation with my children because it wasn't really an issue here. You know, I have talked to my son about if he gets pulled over because I'm terrified. I'm terrified for me. You know, here's a for instance. I get pulled over one day by the shortstop on 11 and 15. So I was texting going across the bridge. So I probably swerved. The cop pulled me over, and that's all fine. So when he pulls me over, he walks up to my car. The first thing he says, I smell alcohol. I said, here we go. I don't drink, man. I'm in recovery. I don't drink. But this is the first thing he says when he walks up to my car. This is the stuff that we go through. So the guy puts me in, he makes me do his test and everything, right? He takes the pen and he tells me follow it. And I'm standing there and I start swaying back and forth. And I'm like, oh shit. Because I'm swaying. So I'm looking intoxicated. Then he tells me to do the, the heel to toe. I do 4 steps, I stumble. I'm like, oh my gosh, now it's really looking like I'm intoxicated.
Now, are these nerves playing?
Yes, this is nerves and I'm swaying. So I'm looking intoxicated, knowing that I'm not. So my brain's fighting with myself because I know that I'm not, but my body language is saying that something's wrong with me. So then he tells me to do the Mr. Miyagi Danielson 1 leg up. I said, I'm not doing any more tests. Go get your breathalyzer. He gets his breathalyzer, I blow in it. He says, have a good night, Mr. Little. So you put me through all of that. Why? First of all, when you came to my car, you knew I wasn't drinking because you didn't smell anything. But that's what allowed you to get me out the car, to make me look intoxicated, or to get me to get upset and rowdy so that you can maybe do something else to me. I stood in front of the car, so I made sure I was in front of the camera. But when he told me to put my leg up, I'm not doing any more of your tests. Get your breathalyzer, you know. So, but as far as like, something being directed to me specifically, no, I had an issue last weekend up in Marion Heights. I went up to the ATV park and my car was parked. Go out and riding for like 2 hours, 2.5 hours, come back. These guys and did donuts and spit dirt and rocks all on my car. They knew it was my car. I didn't know who did it. So there was nothing I could do. I just had to swallow that anger. So we get to the back of the trail and there was some guys back there drinking, a couple ladies. They were having a good time, So we pulled down and we have to go across a creek. And there were a couple of them. They waved, and she was driving. So we get to the end and it's a dead end. But I was feeling kind of funny just from a look I got from one of them. So I get in the front to drive because if we got to go, I want to go. So we get ready to go up the trail, and the guy says, "Flavor, Flav," and it was unnecessary, but I got it. I understood what he was saying, so I looked at him, I gave him a nod, and I left. And so I don't know if the guy was joking or if he was trying to start something. I don't know. I look at it like this, man. I think I haven't had an issue here because I truly believe that people here judge you by how you carry yourself. There's ignorance and there's racism. Listen, if I carry myself with respect, you have no choice but to respect me. I'm gonna make you respect me. If you don't, I'm gonna let you know that, and I'm not gonna have anything to do with you. But you're not gonna be disrespectful, you know. But I haven't had any issues like that. I can't say that. This is actually one of the best things I ever did in my life was move here, and I feel welcome. I was going to leave when my son graduated. I'm still here. I love it. I love the peace and quiet. I love my town. I don't bother with a lot of people. I keep to myself. But
when we were talking on the phone, I believe you told me that the movement that spurred out of George Floyd's death, Breonna Taylor, now Rashard Brooks, you said it felt different to you. Do you feel inspired at all that you're in this majority white area and you're seeing these protests pop up with the majority white crowds, white, Hispanic, black, majority white from what I've observed. Talk about what you've witnessed and what you think.
In our area, yes, it's predominantly white folks who are stepping up, and this is one thing that I think black folks in general. If we keep complaining about the same thing, that's what they say. You're just complaining. Get over it. Come on. But now there's other voices. It's like my wife used to tell me, you have your meeting and then they say, does anyone have any questions or concerns? Now you done spoke to every one of your coworkers. You take all of their complaints and you're the one that puts the problem out on the table. Well, now you're the one who looks like the complainer. But now when one person has the courage to say something and then the other ones have courage too, and it builds up. Now you have to listen to more than just one voice. So with it being black, white, Asian, Spanish, gay, straight, drag, everybody is involved because now you have all these other different groups, the LGBT community. Look at what they suffered through for the last 50 years. You know what I mean? So they're getting to a point now, things are opening up for them. You know what I mean? So they're in the fight just like we are. It's for the same thing, maybe a different reason, but we're fighting for the same thing. Why should anybody have to fight for liberty in a free country? I don't get it. We don't feel like we're treated the same. I mean, I just saw a video where a Jewish guy, they were protesting, and the Jewish guy ran away from the cop. The cop was mad. He tried to catch him. He finally catches the guy, and he's grip to grip with the Jewish guy. Now, the Jewish guy's friends are around him, and they're all arguing with the police, and there's people in the crowd, and they're yelling at the police, but he's back and forth just holding this guy. And the man who posted it saying, this is 5 times, this is 6 times, this is 2 minutes he's resisting the police, and nothing happened to him. We die because of that. Now, some of us might be resisting because we're afraid to die. So we run or we fight back. One, there's no repercussions for most times for what happens. So if they have a pass to do whatever they want, why wouldn't they? Nothing's going to happen to them. So it's wonderful that other people are involved because now you're not just fighting one group of people. These are a whole bunch of different folks with different issues, and they're all voters. So hopefully the politicians are paying attention. It seems like the carnival boat is turning a little bit.
What was your reaction when, I assume you watched the Georgia Floyd video, maybe you haven't.
Yes.
What was your reaction when you watched that? And what can you explain to white people about your feelings in observing that might be different from my perspective, or Rob's perspective, or some of our colleagues' perspective?
Well, the first thing that really got me as I watched it, well, obviously was his knee on his neck. But the thing that was like really there for me was that he had his hands in his pocket the whole time. That's personal. If you're a cop, you want to keep your hands free just in case you get thrown off balance. He wasn't worried about that. He was trying, I believe, he was trying to hurt this man. Then the other ones that were holding his legs, they felt him breathing, they heard him breathing, they heard what he was saying, and it didn't matter. I mean, I cried watching that. If I can't watch it no more. And for people who think nothing's wrong with that, let it be your son or daughter. See how you feel then. We go through this all the time with our kids being killed by the police. And again, no repercussions. I mean, Tamir Rice was playing with a fake gun. The cop shot him within 5 minutes or 5 seconds of pulling up. It's a kid. I don't know. But I think also that video made a lot of people wake up and see what the heck we're complaining about. And they said that's not right because if it's one person or one group of people complaining, they just throw it to the side. And now you got some white folks there. And listen, I look back at when Martin Luther King marched, and there were some white folks in there. A lot of respect for them people. They had to go back to their neighborhoods, and that was a totally different time. They had to go back to their neighborhoods, and them folks saying, "How dare you go march with those people?" But they did it anyway. Why? Because they were fighting for what's right. They were fighting for the injustice that happens. That's what Kaepernick took the knee for. Now we can see why he took the knee. And we see how valid that knee was. But sometimes people don't want to face the truth. They already know the truth. We already know the history. We know what happened in the South. We know. So it's not like we can just push that truth to the side. But now there's other folks who are seeing that truth too, and they're standing up and they're saying something. And now that thing is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I don't condone the looting, but I mean, what do you do when somebody keeps stepping on your broke toe? Eventually, you're going to make them get off of it. Eventually.
I wanted to ask, do you recall like your earliest memory of being singled out for the color of your skin, where maybe you weren't aware of black and white, or to the degree that
Oh yeah, my
people
first
do?
grade teacher, she was mean. I don't know, maybe she was just mean. I can't say that. Maybe she was just mean. But she used to grab me, I had a little afro. She used to grab me by the afro and shake my head if I did something, you know. And I mean, today you'd be arrested for that in school, or the school would be sued. That was a different time, though. We were used to being disciplined by everyone. We respected our elders. If I had a problem, I'd go home and tell someone about it, and then that would be up to them to go to the school to take care of that. Uh, but we weren't allowed to speak up and speak our mind and be disrespectful. And people from my generation, we're still that way. We still respect our elders, regardless of who they are or what they look like.
When I,
We've gotten away from that.
when I say all lives matter, what do you think?
All lives do matter. Absolutely, they do. That's not what the Black Lives Matter is about, though. Don't try to take something that has nothing to do with you. You've already taken enough. But you got to be included in this too. We're talking about something specific, and you keep going to something else to take the focus off of what we're talking about. We're talking about Black Lives Matter in the sense that the police are killing people and there's no repercussions. That's what we're talking about.
All lives matter is a distraction from that message.
Exactly. All lives do matter. And everybody in the Black Lives Matter, they agree with that too. Oh, you want to get, again, go with the flag. It says liberty and justice for all. For all. So the Black Lives Matter has nothing to do with all lives matter. And it is just a distraction. Focus on the Black Lives Matter, what they're saying, what they're asking for, and what they're fighting for. Chew it up and see if any of it makes sense.
Do you feel hope?
Absolutely. There's always hope. We're not where we were 50 years ago. We're not where we were 100 years ago. It, everything is a process, man, right? But you look at the people who fought with Martin Luther King. Some of those guys are still in politics. Some of them guys are still fighting, you know. And now with social media, when Martin spoke, if they didn't televise it, we didn't see it. Might have heard it on the radio. Now with social media, whatever someone is out there doing, whatever their cause is, people can get on board like immediately if it's something that suits them. So I think social media is going to play a huge part in this turnaround.
Anything you want to address that I'm not getting at my questions? Anything that you might be expecting me to ask and I haven't?
No, just that I did think I was coming to Lily White America when I moved here, but it wasn't what my stereotypical vision of white folks were. You know what I'm saying? So
Expand on that.
so in essence, don't judge a book by its cover. So I can't put everybody in a box because maybe something happened to me or because someone harmed me. That's not fair to you because you might have a key to my freedom, but I'll block it just because of what you look like. You know. Um, so it has definitely opened up my vision to where color has no there it plays no aspect in how I look at a person. I still have an issue with authority figures, with police pulling me over. I'm still terrified, just as I was 20 years ago, 25 years ago. I'm still just as scared. I used to probably be a little more scared then because of just the lifestyle I was living. But even here, like I get pulled over and I'm shaking when I'm getting my stuff, and I didn't break the law. But that's what we're conditioned to see and think, because if you have people afraid of you, you can do a whole lot of things. Fear is paralyzing, you know, and you see these kids looting, they're lashing out because as Al Sharpton said when he was preaching that funeral, it was like If you continue to step on my neck, at some point I got to get your foot and twist it or pull it or get it off of me so I can defend myself. You know, the fear is this: if you get pulled over, when can you defend yourself? Are you defenseless against a cop? If he wants to do whatever he wants, are you supposed to just let him do it, or can you defend yourself? People don't want to die, man, especially over some traffic citation. You know, there's people dying and they didn't really. Some of them didn't break the law. Just happened. Eric Garner went over cigarettes. Come on, man. If somebody says I can't breathe, if a woman says no, stop. This is what we've been conditioned, right? So if somebody says I can't breathe, believe them, especially if you have them handcuffed. So anytime a cop does something like that and the person's handcuffed, they need to go to jail. There's no question about that. But we see that there's nothing wrong with it because there's no repercussions. So what does that do to the people watching? They could do that to me and nothing happens to them. Nothing. But I think things are changing. We've seen some things happen recently uh, that obviously has shook up the police department in Atlanta and other places. There needs to be some accountability because if they're policing us and they're protecting us, well, I want the same protection that they afford you. Why wouldn't I? Why shouldn't I? But I definitely think things are changing and they're going in a good direction. These younger people, this is how they communicate. A lot of them aren't really good face to face, but they can text you something real meaningful. But hey, that's that's their twist today. That's what they do. My generation, we got on the microphone and we rapped and we told stories of things that we saw and we put it out in the community. One thing I was just talking to my family that was here. Uh, some of Black history that I learned from rap songs, listening to KRS-One. Like I never knew that the almanac was invented by a black guy, the traffic light. I didn't know that stuff. If we were taught those things in school, then we might have a little more pride about who we are. But a lot of our history is purposely not put in there. So the mental effect starts when we're babies, when we're kids. So by the time we get to being able to understand, we already have a fear of white folks or the police, you know. But I do think it's changing. I think there's those coalitions are just going to grow and grow and grow. And so now you might have this one here supporting this one, and then when this one throws out something, they got support immediately as well. You know, the old saying is, "United we stand, divided we fall." If they keep us divided with red, blue, Republican, Democrat, black, white, gay, straight. If we keep fighting and we can't focus on a remedy because we're too busy fighting each other. But when we come together, that voice is powerful. Nothing that a politician fears more than people voting against them.
How many children do you have?
I have 3 of my own, but I had 5 kids in the house that I was taking care of.
And are any of your children biracial? Were you ever in biracial relationships here?
Yes.
Can you talk about that experience, like that perspective?
Again, I didn't have any issues with that. Maybe 1 or 2 times. Oh yeah, there was a particular time we go down to the river, right? We're under the bridge, the Shamokin Dam, and we're just talking, and the cop comes up. He shines the light in the car, and he asked the girl, "Ma'am, are you okay?" She said, "Yeah, I'm fine." He said, "Are you here on your own free will?" I said, why would you ask that question? That kind of really, that hurt me right there. You know what I mean? Because it's like automatically, if you see a white woman with a black guy, you're thinking that she's in trouble or she's in harm's way. Nothing wrong with asking that, but you can ask some questions and get a feel of the environment without being asking that particular question to make it seem like that she's in trouble or I'm out to harm her. You know, so some people have said some things under their breath, but it's the way of the world, man. You know what I mean? People are gonna do what they want to do, and they'll deal with that. What comes with it if they want to be with each other. I mean, look at those folks in the 50s and the 60s and the 40s that had to deal with that. We're in a totally different time, so people saying things is really minuscule as opposed to when Obama was elected. I cried, and it wasn't because we had the first black president. It was because I knew men in my life that could have been hung for looking at a white woman the wrong way, or because she said he looked at her and he didn't. He could have been hung or killed with nothing happening to no one. It's a different time now. Things are more acceptable than they were back then. So, and I think that goes. I think that's worldwide. It's just not in America. That's just worldwide. A lot of people don't see color like that no more. These younger people, um, they blend with each other like it's nothing. They don't look at those barriers, not like it was in the past. So there are little subtle things that we can see how things have changed and that they are changing. The big ship, it takes a minute to turn it, but I think the rudder turned a little bit, just a little bit. And that's all you need is a little bit of traction. And hopefully these people, these politicians, get things in line. You know, people just want equality, man. They ain't looking for nothing different or special, just equality. Treat me like you treat other people. You know, that's all.